Wednesday Whispers. This week we are going to talk about Dragon Ball. We'll discuss a little bit of the manga and a little bit of the anime, and kind of, I think, the series as a whole, and kind of where it's come from, and maybe where it's going. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing. I have not read through the articles yet. I think I have kind of read parts of it in the past, like for my own curiosity, but I've never read the whole thing in its entirety, and I haven't even skimmed it today, ahead of time. So, I actually have the first volume of the manga, or I guess it's actually the first 3 volumes, if you can see. And I got this, there's a comic book store in Ann Arbor I like to go to. It's called Vault of Midnight, or the Vault of Midnight. I think it's just Vault of Midnight. And that's where I get all my manga from. And what I like to do, if you can see, I'm like maybe 2/3 of the way through it or so. Because with manga, you read from right to left. Because that's how I guess you do it in Japan. And this is keeping with the traditional styling of that, I guess. All I know is you read right to left, and so I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, maybe a little bit over half, I don't know. And what I like to do is, each week I will read, or not each week, each night I will read one chapter, or one issue, before bed, and then I go to sleep. So that's what I like to do. So I thought I'd show that to you guys. I really like how on the cover of the artwork, Goku's in color, and then in the corner down here, there's a picture of Bulma, Oolong, and Goku asleep in the back. I don't know why she's standing up in the car, but I guess she is. And then there's Emperor Pilaf on the back. And then I don't have any other volumes yet, because as you see, I'm still reading the first one. But along the spines, like if you put them all next to each other, there's like a picture that it makes. I think it's a picture of a race car, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty cool. I really want to get like all of the volumes so that I can put them next to each other and see the picture and stuff. Plus I want to read them all. As the same character, no matter which language I was listening in. And I don't speak Japanese, so it wasn't that I understood what they were saying. I don't know. That's just kind of what I remember. It's been about a year since I watched it, though. So, I don't know. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. But, so yeah. I guess that's about all I have to say about my experience with the manga and the anime. So, I guess let's get started. Dragon Ball is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama. It was originally serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump from 1984 to 1995, with the 519 individual chapters published into 14 tankobon volumes by Tsushija. I don't know, I think I did that name really bad. Dragon Ball was initially inspired by the classical Chinese novel Journey to the West. The series follows the adventures of the protagonist Goku from his childhood through adulthood as he trains in martial arts and explores the world in search of the 7 orbs known as the Dragon Balls, which summon a wish-granting dragon when gathered. Along his journey, Goku makes several friends and battles a wide variety of villains, many of whom also seek the Dragon Balls. The 42 tankobon have been adapted into 2 anime series produced by Toei Animation, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which together were broadcast in Japan from 1986 to 1996. Additionally, Toei has developed 18 animated feature films and 3 television specials, as well as an anime sequel titled Dragon Ball GT, which takes place after the events of the manga. From 2009 to 2011, Toei broadcast a revised, faster-paced version of Dragon Ball Z under the title Dragon Ball Kai, in which most of the original version's footage not featured in the manga was removed. Several companies have developed various types of merchandising based on the series, leading to a large media franchise that includes films, both animated and live action, collectible trading card games, numerous action figures, along with several collections of soundtracks and a large number of video games. The manga series was licensed for an English language release in North America by Viz Media, in the United Kingdom by Galaxy Manga, and Australia and New Zealand by Madman Entertainment. The entire anime series was licensed by Funimation Entertainment for an English language release in the United States, although the series has not always been dubbed by the same studio. There have been many films of the franchise, including the first live-action film adaptation being produced in 1989 in Taiwan. In 2002, 20th Century Fox acquired the rights to produce an American-made live-action film titled Dragon Ball Evolution that received a negative reception from critics and fans. The movie was released on April 10th, 2009 in the United States. Since its release, Dragon Ball has become one of the most successful manga and anime series of all time. The manga's 42 volumes have sold over 156 million copies in Japan and more than 230 million copies worldwide, making it the second best-selling manga series in history. Reviewers have praised the art, characterization, and humor of the story. It is widely regarded as one of the greatest manga series ever made, with many manga artists such as Ichiro Oda, One Piece's Masahiro Kishimoto, Naruto, Tite Kubo, Bleach, Hiro Mashimiya, Rave Monster, and Fairy Tail, and Kentaro Yabuki, Black Cat, Hongja being Sha Wongjing. He originally thought it would last about a year, and once the Dragon Balls were collected, Toriyama stated that although the stories were purposefully easy to understand, he specifically aimed Dragon Ball at readers older than those of his previous serial, Dr. Slump. He also wanted to break from the Western influences common in Dr. Slump, deliberately going for Chinese scenery, referencing Chinese buildings and photographs of China his wife had bought. The island where the Tenkaichi Budokai, or Strongest Under the Heavens martial arts tournament, renamed World Martial Arts Tournaments in Funimation's dub, is modeled after Bali, which he and his wife and assistant visited before serialization began, and for the area around Babadi's spaceship he consulted photos of Africa. It was when the Tenkaichi Budokai martial arts tournament began that Dragon Ball truly became popular, having recalled the races and tournaments in Dr. Slump. Anticipating that readers would expect Goku to win the tournaments, Toriyama had him lose the first two while planning an eventual victory. He said that the Red Ribbon Army was equivalent to the Tenkaichi Budokai, inspired by the video game Spartan X, in which enemies tended to appear very fast. He then created Piccolo Daimyo as a truly evil villain, and as a result called that arc the most interesting to draw. Once Goku and company had become the strongest on Earth, they turned to extraterrestrial opponents, including the Saiyans. Frieza, who forcibly took over the planets to resell them, was created around the time of the Japanese economic bubble. It was inspired by the real estate speculators, whom Toriyama called the worst kind of people. Finding the escalating enemies difficult, he created the Ginyu Force to add more balance to the series. He added time travel next, but said he had a hard time with it, only thinking of what to do that week and having to discuss it with his second editor, Yu Kondo. After Cell's death, Toriyama intended for Gohan to replace Goku as the series protagonist, but felt the character was not suited for the role and changed his mind. I wonder why. Going against the normal convention that the strongest characters should be the largest in terms of physical size, he designed many of Dragon Ball's most powerful characters with small statures, including the protagonist Goku. When creating a character, his process is first to come up with their face and body type, and then the clothes while thinking of the world they inhabit, and if the fighters can move around in them. Toriyama said that he did not plan the details of the story, resulting in strange occurrences and discrepancies later in the series, including changing the colors of the characters mid-story, and a few characters having a screen tone because he found it difficult to use. Toriyama later explained that he had Goku grow up as a means to make drawing fight scenes easier, even though his first editor, Kazuhiko Torishima, was initially against it because it was rare to have main characters of a manga series change drastically. When including fights in the manga, Toriyama had the characters go to uninhabited locations to avoid difficulties in drawing residents and destroyed buildings. While he personally dislikes the idea of naming fighting techniques, Torishima at the time felt it would be better, so Toriyama proceeded to create names for all of the techniques except for the series signature Kamehameha, which his wife came up with when he was indecisive about what it should be called. In order to advance the story quickly by having characters travel without inconvenience, he created the flying cloud Kintu-un, renamed Nimbus in Funimation's dub, then gave most fighters the flying technique Asazuka Katsura about how there was nothing stronger than a Super Saiyan. Katsura suggesting having two characters fused together, leading to the creation of the fusion technique. Since the completion of Dragon Ball, Toriyama has continued to add to its story, mostly background information on its universe through guidebooks published by Shueisha. During the second half of the series, Toriyama has said that he had become more interested in coming up with a story than actually drawing it, and that the battles became more intense with him simplifying the lines. He also said he would get letters from readers complaining that the art had become too square, so he intentionally made it more so. In 2013, he stated that because Dragon Ball is an action manga, the most important aspect is the sense of speed, so he didn't draw very elaborate, going so far as to suggest one could say that he wasn't interested in the art. He also once said that his goal for the series was to tell an unconventional and contradictory story. In 2013, commentating on Dragon Ball's global success, Toriyama said, "Frankly, I don't quite understand why it happened. While the manga was being serialized, the only thing I wanted as I kept drawing was to make Japanese boys happy. The role of my manga is to be a work of entertainment through and through. I dare say I don't care even if my works have left nothing behind, as long as they have entertained their readers." So, it's kind of an interesting take by the author, I suppose. So that is the end of the section on production. Up next is media, starting with manga. Written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball was initially serialized in the manga anthology Weekly Shonen Jump starting on December 3rd, 1984. The series ended on June 5th, 1995, when Toriyama grew exhausted and felt that he needed a break from drawing. The 519 individual chapters were published into 42 tankobon volumes by Shueisha from November 10th, 1985 through August 4th, 1995. In 2002, the chapters were re-released in a collection of 34 Kansenben volumes, which included a slightly rewritten ending, new covers, and color artwork from its weekly Shonen Jump run. The February 2013 issue of V-Jump, which was released in December 2012, announced that parts of the manga will be fully colored and re-released in 2013. 3 volumes comprising the Saiyan arc, which begins with chapter 195 of the original series, were released on February 4th, 2013, and 5 volumes of the Frieza arc were released on April 4th, 2013. The Dragon Ball manga is licensed for release in English in North America by Viz Media. Viz released volumes 17 through 42, chapters 195 through 519 under the title Dragon Ball Z to mimic the name of the anime series adapted from those volumes, feeling it would reduce the potential for confusion by its readers. They initially released both series chapter by chapter in a monthly comic book format starting in 1998, and later began collecting them in graphic novels in 2000. In 2000, while releasing Dragon Ball in the monthly format, Viz began to censor the series in response to complaints by parents. They argued that when there are parental complaints, major chain stores stopped selling the series, so to keep wide distribution, they made some concessions. They assured that all changes were done with the approval by Toriyama and Shuju, while Toriyama making suggestions himself, such as to obscure Goku's genitals with objects rather than neuter him. A fan petition that garnered over 10,000 signatures was created, and a year later, Viz announced that they would stop censoring the series, and instead increased its rating to 13 and up, and reprinted the first 3 graphic novels. Dragon Ball Z 2005. Later, the first 10 collected volumes of both series were re-released from March to May 2003 under their Show and Jump imprint, with Dragon Ball being completed on August 3rd, 2004, and Dragon Ball Z finishing on June 6, 2006. However, when releasing the last few volumes of Dragon Ball Z, the company began to censor the series again, translating the sound effects of the gunshots to zaps and changing the few sexual references. In June 2008, Viz began re-releasing the two series in a wideband format called Viz Big Edition, which collects 3 individual volumes into a single large volume. These editions are on higher quality paper and include some of the original weekly Show and Jump color pages. However, they include new censorship not in the 2003 releases. On November 3rd, 2008, the first few volumes of both series were released in hardcover collector's edition. Viz began releasing new 3-in-1 volumes on Dragon Ball, similar to their Viz Big Edition, using the Japanese Kansenban covers, with Volume 1 released on June 4th, 2013. They serialized Chapter 195 to 245 of the new fully colored version of their manga in their digital anthology Weekly Show and Jump from February 2013 to February 2014. They began publishing Dragon Ball Full Color Edition into large printed volumes on February 4th, 2014. The manga has also been licensed in other English-speaking countries, distributed in the same Viz format of separating it into Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The United Kingdom's release of the manga has been through distributors. From August 2005 to November 2007, Golgan's manga, imprint of the Orion Publishing Group, released the 16 volumes of Dragon Ball and the first 4 of Dragon Ball Z. Viz would release the book after Golgan's and expand the digital sales on the Nook in August 2013. In Australia and New Zealand, Madman Entertainment has released all 16 volumes of the Dragon Ball manga and the 9 Viz Big volumes of Dragon Ball Z. So that is the end of the manga section. Next is spin-offs and crossovers. Toriyama also created a short series, Nico Mashin, that became a self-parody of Dragon Ball. First appearing in August 1999, the 8-chapter series was released sporadically in Weekly Show and Jump and Monthly Show and Jump until it was complete in 2005. These chapters were compiled into one Kansenban volume for release on April 4th, 2005. In 2006, in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Kochihira Katsuku Kamira Konma Achu, or Kochikimi, a special manga titled Super Kochikami, was released on September 15. It included characters from the series appearing in special crossover chapters of other well-known manga. The chapter, This is the Police Station in front of Dragon Park on planet Namek, was a Dragon Ball crossover by Toriyama and Konchikami author Osamu Akimoto. That same year, Toriyama teamed up with Achiro Oda to create a single crossover chapter of Dragon Ball and One Piece, entitled Cross Epoch. The chapter was published in the December 25th, 2006 issue of Weekly Show and Jump and the April 2011 issue of English Show and Jump. The final chapter of Toriyama's 2013 manga series, Jaco the Galactic Patrolman, revealed that it is set before Dragon Ball, with several characters making appearances. Jaco's collected volumes contain a bonus Dragon Ball chapter depicting Goku's mother. Jaco and the this chapter were both published in Viz's digital English weekly show and jump. A colored spin-off manga titled Dragon Ball SD, also written by Oshi, has been published in Shushi's Saikyo Jump magazine since its debut issue released in December 2010. After the first 4 issues, the second released in April 2011, the third in August, and the fourth in October, the magazine became a monthly publication. The manga is a condensed retelling of Goku's various childhood adventures, with many details changed in a super deformed art style, hence the title. It has been collected into 3 volumes, with the first being released on April 4th, 2013, the second on April 4th, 2014, and the third on December 4th, 2014. Dragon Ball episode of Bardock is a 3-chapter manga, once again penned by Nao Oshi, that was published in the monthly magazine V-Jump from August and October 2011. This manga is a sequel to the 1990 TV special Bardock, the Father of Goku, with some key details changed. As the title indicates, the manga story revolves around Bardock, Goku's father, who in this special is featured in a what-if scenario in which he did not die at the hands of Frieza and gets to fight as his enemy as a Super Saiyan. The fact that Bardock appears as a Super Saiyan is based on Dragon Ball's Heroes card featuring him as one. Let's see. So next we are going to talk about the anime series. But it's kind of going to be a little bit of a rapid fire mode, because each of the different segments of the anime kind of has its own like full page. So these are just like short little blurbs, like really short. Okay, let's give it a go. Dragon Ball. Toei Animation produced an anime television series based on the first 194 manga chapters, also titled Dragon Ball. The series premiered in Japan on Fuji Television on February 26, 1986, and ran until April 12, 1989, lasting 153 episodes. That's the end of Dragon Ball. I told you they're very short. Dragon Ball Z. Instead of continuing the anime as Dragon Ball, Toei Animation decided to carry on with their adaptation under a new name and asked Akira Toriyama to come up with the title. Dragon Ball Z picks up 5 years after the first series left off and adapts the final 325 chapters of the manga. It premiered in Japan on Fuji Television on April 26, 1989, taking over its predecessor's time slot, and ran for 291 episodes until its conclusion on January 31st, 1996. From what I read, I believe the reason he chose Z was because he wanted it to be the final one, and since there's not something that comes after Z, that was why he chose Z. But it doesn't say that here, so I could be totally wrong. Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball GT premiered on Fuji Television on February 2nd, 1996, and ran until November 19, 1997, for 64 episodes. Unlike the first 2 anime series, it is not based on Akira Toriyama's original Dragon Ball manga, being created by Toei Animation as a sequel to the series, or as Toriyama called it, a side story of the original Dragon Ball. Toriyama only designed the main cast and some machines, and came up with the title. Dragon Ball Kai. In February 2009, Toei Animation announced that it would begin broadcasting a revised version of Dragon Ball Z as part of the series' 20th anniversary celebrations. The series premiered on Fuji Television in Japan on April 5th, 2009, under the name Dragon Ball Kai, with the episodes remastered for HD TV, featuring updated opening and ending sequences it is a new version of Dragon Ball Z created from the original footage. The majority of the international versions, including Funimation's Entertainment's English dubs, are titled Dragon Ball Z Kai. Next, we're going to talk about the films a little bit. Some of these are, again, rather short. Anime. 18 animated theatrical films based on the Dragon Ball series have been released in Japan. The first 3 films are based on the original Dragon Ball anime series. The remaining films include 14 Dragon Ball Z films and 1/10th anniversary special, also based on the first animated series. However, the films are generally either alternate retellings of certain story arcs or extra side stories that do not correlate with the same timeline as the series. The exception being Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Z Fukatsu no F, released in 2013 and 2015 respectively. These films being the first to have original creator Akira Toriyama deeply involved in their production, so one of them I guess isn't even out yet. Live action. An unofficial live-action Mandarin Chinese film adaptation of the series Dragon Ball The Magic Begins was released in Taiwan in 1989. In December 1990, the unofficial live-action Korean film Dragon Ball Sasawara Son Goku Ikira Son Goku was released. 20th Century Fox acquired feature film rights to the Dragon Ball franchise in March 2002 and began production on an American live-action film entitled Dragon Ball Evolution, directed by James Wong and produced by Stephen Chow. It was released in the United States on April 10th, 2009. TV specials and other animations. 3 television specials based on the series were aired on Fuji TV in Japan. The first, The One True Final Battle, the Z Warrior who challenged Frieza, Son Goku's father, renamed Bardock the father of Goku by Funimation, was shown on October 17th, 1990. That is a really, really long title. As I was reading it, I was thinking that that's gotta be like all 3 names and they mistyped it or something, but no, that's one name. Wow. The second special, The Hopeless Resistance, Gohan and Trunks, the 2 remaining Super Warriors, renamed The History of Trunks by Funimation, is based on a special chapter of the original manga and aired on March 24th, 1993. Goku's side story, The 4-Star Ball is a Badge of Courage, renamed A Hero's Legacy by Funimation, aired on March 26, 1997. A 2-part hour-long crossover special between Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and Toriko. Hey, Toriko. Toriko's my favorite. Referred to as Dream 9 Toriko and One Piece and Dragon Ball Z Super Collaboration Special, aired on April 7th, 2013. I've seen it. It was pretty good, I thought. A 2-episode original video animation titled Dragon Ball Z Side Story, Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans, was created in 1993 as a strategy guide for the Famicom video game of the same name. A remake titled Dragon Ball Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans was created as a bonus feature for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 video game Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2, which was released on November 11th, 2010. The short film Dragon Ball Yo Son Goku and His Friends Return was created for the Jump Super Anime Tour, which celebrated Weekly Show and Jump's 40th anniversary and debuted on November 24th, 2008. A short animated adaptation of Nao Oshi's Bardock spin-off manga, Dragon Ball Episode of Bardock, was shown on December 17th and 18th, 2011 at the Jump Festa 2012 event. Most of the games were from the fighting genre or RPG, including the series Super Butoden. The first Dragon Ball game to be released in the United States was Dragon Ball GT Final Bout for the PlayStation on July 31st, 1997. For the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable games, the characters were redone in 3D cel-shaded graphics. These games included the Dragon Ball Z Budokai series and the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series. Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit was the first game of the series developed for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. A massively multiplayer online role-playing game called Dragon Ball Online was available in Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan until the servers were shut down in 2013. That's the bummer about MMORPGs is that like once they go down, there's like not really any way to play them that I know of, which is kind of a bummer because it's like sometimes they sound like they'd be really fun to at least check out, but they're gone. It's not like an old video game like Super Mario Brothers. Like you can go and just buy Super Mario Brothers and like play it, but like you can't do that with an MMORPG. I don't know. It's just kind of like gone. But or another good example is you can't just like get an emulator and say make a YouTube series about playing them while you whisper. Like say with Pokemon Heart Gold. I don't know. Maybe I know someone who's doing that. Nah. Soundtracks. Myriad soundtracks were released in the anime, movies, and the games. The music for the first two anime, Dragon Ball and Z, and its films were composed by Shansuke Kyuchi, while the music from GT was composed by Akito Takunaka, and the music from Kai was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Naruhito Sumanatomo. For the first anime, the soundtracks released were Dragon Ball Music Collection in 1985 and Dragon Ball Complete Song Collection in 1991, although they were reissued in 2007 and 2003 respectively. For the second anime, the soundtrack series released were Dragon Ball Z Hit Song Collection series. It was produced and released by Columbia Records of Japan from July 21st, 1989 to March 20th, 1996. The show's entire lifespan, on September 20th, 2006, Columbia re-released the Hit Song Collection on their Animex 1300 series. Other CDs released other compilations, video games, and film soundtracks, as well as music from English versions. Companion books. Companion books. There have been numerous companion books to the Dragon Ball franchise. Chief among these are the Daisenshu series comprising 7 hardback main volumes and 3 supplemental softcover volumes covering the manga and the first 2 anime series and their theatrical films. The first of these, Dragon Ball The Complete Illustrations, first published in Japan in 1995, is the only one that was released in English, being printed in 2008 by Viz Media. It's kind of a bummer. Excuse me. It contains all 264 colored illustrations by Akira Toriyama, drew for the weekly Show and Jump magazine's covers, bonus giveaways, and specials, and all the covers for the 42 Tankobon. It also includes an interview with Toriyama on his work process. The remainder have never been released in English and all are now out of print in Japan. From February coinciding with the 34 volumes concept and re-release of the manga, and the release of the entire series on DVD for the first time in Japan. 4 new guidebooks were released in 2003 and 2004. Dragon Ball Landmark and Dragon Ball Forever covered the manga, using volume numbers for story points that reference the concept and release, while Dragon Ball Tenkaichi Densu and Dragon Ball Son Goku Densu covered the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z anime, respectively. Much of the material in these books is reused from the earlier Denshu volumes, but they include new textual material, including substantial interviews with the creator, cast, and production staff of the series. Son Goku Densu, in particular, showcases previously unpublished design sketches of Goku's father, Bardock, drawn by character designer Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru prior to creator Akira Toriyama's revisions that resulted in the final version. Following the release of Dragon Ball Z Kai in Japan, 4 new guidebooks were released. The 2-volume Dragon Ball Super Exciting Guide in 2009, covering the manga, and 2-volume Dragon Ball Extreme Battle Collection in 2010, covering the anime series. Despite the TV series airing during this time, being Kai, the Extreme Battle Collection books reference the earlier Series Z in content and episode numbers. These books also include new question and answer sessions with Akira Toriyama, revealing a few new details about the world and characters of the series. In 2010 also saw the release of new art book Dragon Ball Anime Illustrations Guidebook, The Golden Warrior, a sort of anime counterpart to the manga-oriented complete illustrations. It showcases anime original illustrations and includes interviews with the 3 principal character designers for the anime. Each of the Japanese Dragon Box DVD releases of the series and movies, which were released from 2003 to 2006, as well as the Blu-ray box sets of Dragon Ball Kai, released 2009 to 2011, come with a Dragon Book Guide that contains details about the content therein. Each also contains a new interview with a member of the cast or staff of the series. These books have been reproduced textually for Funimation's release of the Dragon Ball Z Dragon Box set from 2009 to 2011. Collectible cards. Collectible cards based on the Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT series have been released by Bandai. These cards feature various scenes from the manga and anime stills, plus exclusive artwork from all 3 series. Bandai released the first set in the United States in July 2008. Reception. Manga. Dragon Ball is one of the most popular manga series of all time, and it continues to enjoy high readership today. By 2000, more than 126 million copies of its tankobon volumes had been sold in Japan alone. By 2012, this number had grown to pass 156 million in Japan and 230 million worldwide, making it the second best-selling weekly Shonen Jump manga of all time. Dragon Ball is credited as one of the main reasons for the golden age of Jump, the period between the mid-1980s and the mid-1990s, when manga circulation was at its highest. For the 10th anniversary of the Japan Media Arts Festival in 2006, Japanese fans voted Dragon Ball the 3rd greatest manga of all time. I wonder what the other 2 were. In a survey conducted by Oricon in 2007 among 1,000 people, Son Goku, the main character of the franchise, ranked first place as the strongest manga character of all time. Goku's journey and his ever-growing strength resulted in the character winning 2011 that Dragon Ball is by far the most influential shonen manga of the last 30 years, and today almost every Shonen Jump artist lists it as one of their favorites and lifts it in various ways. He says the series turns from a gag adventure manga to a nearly pure fighting manga, and its basic formula of lots of martial arts and lots of training sequences, a few jokes became the model for other shonen series such as Naruto. Thompson also called Toriyama's art influential and cited it as a reason for the series' popularity. James S. Yado, author of The Rough Guide to Manga, claims that the first several chapters of Dragon Ball play out much like Saku, with Dr. Slump-like humor built in, and that Dr. Slump, Toriyama's previous manga, was a clear early influence on the series. He feels the series established its unique identity after the first occasion, when Goku's group disbands and he trains under Kami-san, when the story develops a far more action-packed, sinister tone, with wilder battles with aerial and spiritual elements, an increased death count, while humor still makes an occasional appearance. Yado claims that art shift occurs when the characters lose the rounded, innocent look that he established with Dr. Slump and gain sharper angles that leap off the page with their energy and intensity. Americana felt the series had worldwide appeal, using dramatic pacing and over-the-top martial arts action to maintain tension levels and keep a crippler crossface hold on the audience's attention spans. In Little Boy, the art of Japanese exploding subculture, Takashi Makirama commented that Dragon Ball's never-ending cyclical narrative moves forward plausibly, seamlessly, and with great finesse. Ridwan Khan from AnimeFringe.com commented that the manga had a chubby art style, but as the series continued, the characters got more refined, leaner, and more muscular. Khan prefers the manga over the slow pacing of the anime's counterparts. Ellen Divers of Anime News Network praised the story and humor of the manga as being very good at conveying all of the characters' personalities. Divers also called Viz's translation one of the best of all the English editions of the series due to its faithfulness to the original Japanese. T. Aviva Rothschild of RationalImaging.com remarked the first manga volume as a superior humor title. They praised Goku's innocence and Bulma's insistence as one of the funniest parts of the series. The content of the manga has been controversial in the United States. In November 1999, Toys R Us removed Viz's Dragon Ball from their stores nationwide when a Dallas parent complained the series had borderline soft porn after he bought them for his 4-year-old son. Commenting on the issue, Susan J. Napier explained it is a difference in culture. After the ban, Viz reluctantly began to censor the series to keep wide distribution. However, in 2001, after releasing 3 volumes censored, Viz announced Dragon Ball would be uncensored and reprinted due to fan reactions. In January 2009, Wycomico County Public Schools in Maryland banned the Dragon Ball manga from their school district because it depicts nudity, sexual contact between children, and sexual innuendo among adults and children. Anime. The anime adaptations have also been very well received and are better known in the Western world than the manga, with Anime News Network saying a few anime series have mainstreamed it the way Dragon Ball has to a certain generation of television consumers. Its character occasions, the Dragon Ball anime has topped Japan's DVD sales. Carl Kimlinger of Anime News Network summed up Dragon Ball as an action-packed tale told with rare humor and something even rarer, a genuine sense of adventure. Both Kimlinger and colleague Theon Martin noted Funimation's reputation for drastic alterations of the script, but praised the dub. However, some critics and most fans of the Japanese version have been more critical with Funimation's English dub and script of Dragon Ball Z over the years. Jeffrey Harris, IGN, criticized the voices, including how Frieza appearance, combined with the feminine English voice, left fans confused about Frieza's gender. I think that's fair. So, Frieza's supposed to be a guy, but when I watched it growing up as a child, I thought for sure that Frieza was a girl. Carlos Ross of THM Anime Reviews considered the series characters to be different from the stereotypical stock characters, and noted that they undergo much more development. Despite praising Dragon Ball Z for its cast of characters, they criticized it for having long and repetitive fights. Dragon Ball Z is well known and often criticized for its long, repetitive, dragged-out fights that span several episodes, with Martin commenting, DBZ practically turned drawing out fights into an art form. However, Jason Thompson of IO9 explained that this comes from the fact that the anime was being created alongside the manga. Dragon Ball Z was listed as the 78th best animated show in IGN's Top 100 animated series. It was also listed as the 50th greatest cartoon in Wizard Manga's Top 100 Greatest Cartoons list. Harris commented that Dragon Ball GT is downright repellent, mentioning that the material and characters had lost their novelty and fun. He also criticized the GT character designs of Trunks and Vegeta as being goofy. Zach Burchsey of Anime News Network also gave negative comments about GT, mentioning that the fights from the series were a very simple childish exercise, and that many other anime were superior. The plot of Dragon Ball GT has also been criticized by giving a formula that was already used in its predecessors. The first